What's the biggest bullet you've ever dodged? Back in 2019, I was working as a junior accountant at this mid-sized firm in downtown Portland. The job was okay, nothing special, but it paid the bills and my boss Kevin seemed like a decent enough guy. I'd been there about 2 years when Kevin started acting really friendly toward me. He'd invite me to lunch, ask about my career goals, tell me I had real potential. I thought he was just being a good mentor, you know? Then in March, Kevin pulls me into his office for what he calls a confidential conversation. He tells me he's been watching my work closely and he thinks I'm ready for something bigger, way bigger. Turns out Kevin had been secretly planning to leave the firm and start his own accounting business and he wanted me to be his first hire. The offer was incredible. He was promising me a 50% salary increase, equity in the company, flexible hours, and a chance to work with high-profile clients from day one. Kevin said he already had 3 major contracts lined up, including one with this tech startup that was about to go public. He showed me spreadsheets with projected revenue, business plans, even office space he'd been looking at. Everything looked legitimate and professional. The numbers were so good they made my head spin. I'd go from making $42,000 a year to $63,000 plus bonuses. Kevin said the only catch was timing. He needed an answer within a week because he was planning to give his 2 weeks notice and wanted me to leave with him. We'd start the new company in April, just 6 weeks away. I was so excited I could barely sleep. This felt like my big break, the chance to get ahead in life instead of just scraping by. I started imagining what I'd do with the extra money, maybe finally move out of my crappy studio apartment. But something was nagging at me. Kevin was being really secretive about the whole thing. He made me promise not to tell anyone at work, said the firm would try to sabotage us if they found out. He also wouldn't let me meet any of these supposed clients or see the actual contracts. When I asked to see some paperwork, Kevin got defensive, said I either trusted him or I didn't, and that successful entrepreneurs had to be willing to take calculated risks. He started pressuring me harder, saying opportunities like this only came around once in a lifetime. My girlfriend Emma thought something was off too. She kept asking why Kevin wouldn't give me time to think it over, why everything had to happen so fast. But I was so caught up in the excitement that I brushed off her concerns. I was literally about to say yes, had my resignation letter typed up and everything. But the night before I was supposed to give Kevin my answer, Emma convinced me to do some research first. We spent 3 hours on my laptop digging into Kevin's background. What we found made my blood run cold. Kevin had done this exact same thing before, twice. At his previous job in Seattle, he'd convinced 2 junior employees to quit and join his startup. The company folded after 4 months, leaving both employees unemployed with no references since they'd burned bridges with their old firm. Before that, Kevin had tried the same scam in San Francisco, promised big money and equity to 3 different people. That company never even officially existed. He just collected money from investors and disappeared. The tech startup he claimed to have a contract with? I called their main number and asked to speak to whoever handled their accounting. The receptionist laughed and said they did all their books in-house and had never hired an outside firm. The more we dug, the worse it got. Kevin had been fired from 2 previous accounting firms for ethical violations. There were complaints filed against him with the state licensing board. He owed back taxes in 3 different states. I realized Kevin wasn't trying to give me an opportunity. He was trying to use me as bait to make his fake company look more legitimate to potential investors. Once he got their money, he'd disappear and leave me holding the bag. The next morning, I told Kevin I decided to stay at the firm. He completely lost it. Started screaming about how I was making the biggest mistake of my life, that I'd never amount to anything, that I was too scared to take risks. 2 weeks later, Kevin quit without notice. Just didn't show up to work one day, left behind a desk full of unfinished client files and a company laptop that belonged to the firm. I found out later that he'd been embezzling money from client accounts for months. Small amounts that he thought wouldn't be noticed. The FBI arrested him 6 months later in Phoenix, where he was running the same scam on a different group of people. 3 of Kevin's previous victims from Seattle reached out to me after seeing the news story. They told me horror stories about being unemployed for months, having to explain to future employers why they'd quit good jobs to work for a company that never existed. One guy, his name was Marcus, said Kevin's scam had ruined his credit and destroyed his marriage. He'd borrowed money against his house to invest in Kevin's fake company and lost everything when it collapsed. If I had said yes to Kevin's offer, I would have quit my job, burned bridges with my current firm, and probably ended up unemployed and possibly facing criminal charges as an unwitting accomplice to his embezzlement scheme. Instead, I got promoted 6 months later when they needed someone to take over Kevin's client accounts. I'm now a senior accountant making more than Kevin ever promised, with actual job security and a clean conscience. Sometimes I think about how close I came to destroying my entire career because I was too eager for a quick promotion. Emma still reminds me about it whenever I'm tempted to make a big decision too quickly. That experience taught me that if something seems too good to be true and someone's pressuring you to decide fast, there's usually a very good reason to slow down and ask questions.